what's wrong with this picture? Now, for those of you in Victoria, you'll be saying, well, why is he even in the office? Others of you may think the shirt's a bit questionable and potentially the beard, and you would be right, because if you look at the iPhone in his hand, it's clearly an iPhone 4 for those of you that recognize the connector, which puts this picture well pre-COVID. I mean, puts it several years ago when the beard wasn't fashionable. But the key here is the trend we're talking about here has been happening for a lot of years. He's sitting there at his desk using his mobile phone while he has a perfectly good desk phone sitting down there in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture, and he's not using it. Why isn't he using it? Well, he probably gave out his mobile number to a few people. He called them on it, they called him back on it, and before you know it, a lot of the calls are going to and from the mobile phone and bypassing the desk phone. Now, the user there in the picture is obviously very happy, but does that work for the business? Let's think about this. If you have, say, a receptionist function, they don't know if he's on the phone anymore. In fact, he looks like he's not on the phone, right? The phone's not in use, so it'll look green. So they might want to try and put a call through to him, even though he's on his mobile. If maybe you have a group of people answering a main advertised number, a small group of people maybe in a hunt group or a call center or something, if they're all on mobiles, how does that work? It goes through to the first guy, he doesn't answer, and it goes to his voicemail. It doesn't go to the next guy along the chain. If they do answer it, how do they transfer it if it's for a different department? If they want to record that call for compliance purposes, how do they record it? And probably the other thing to think about is when they make a call to a customer that you really want returned to your business on the main business number, it's not going to work. It's going to come back on that mobile number. Now, that guy's on holiday and the mobile's with him. It's just going to sit on his voicemail. So a whole bunch of things to think about here when your employees start using mobiles a lot more of the time, particularly if they're doing a lot of call forwarding. And which brings us to our next statistic on the next slide, which says that during COVID-19, over 20% of business telephony users are redirecting their office number to their mobile. And we can tell that from our platforms, from our statistics. We know that 1 in 5 users is no longer using their telephony system. They're essentially doing all their calling to and from their mobile. So you think about that, that's a lot of money tied up in a telephony system for 20% of the people that they aren't using it. So we actually have an answer to this. And the answer is called Liberate, as obviously you would recognize from the title of this session. So what Liberate does is ties together that office telephone number, which is the key part to the desk phone, alongside that mobile number, which obviously is on the mobile, and joins the two together. And it does this tightly in the network. This is some magic that happens in our network. This is not an app. This is nothing that happens on the actual phone itself. This is in the core of our network. And the reason this is really, really important is that it means the user has a native mobile calling experience. What I mean by that is they pick the phone up and they make or receive calls as they normally would on a mobile. They don't change behavior. They don't have to go find an app to use, but they can still call out with the fixed number, the number that belongs to your business. That's the key here. But secondly, we can overlay a lot of those UC features that we used to have on that system, or even just basic telephony features, the ability to transfer a call, the ability to be part of a hunt group or a call center, or just the ability to actually switch the caller identity between the two. Am I using the mobile number or am I using the fixed number? And lastly, the ability to separate work and personal life on the same device. We're all at home, or a lot of us are, but during COVID, we're all using our mobile for work and personal lives. How do I separate that? So again, putting a schedule in so that I can show the correct outbound number Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, that's done automatically for me without me thinking about it, one way. The same thing when I get receive a call, how do I make sure that I don't receive business calls in non-business hours? Can I put a limit on my phone to try and stop those automatically and send business calls out of hours to voicemail? So that's what Liberate does. That's the key to Liberate. So our first poll here is around how often do you forward your office phone number to your mobile phone? Remember, this is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Go there quickly because you'll know the answer to this off the top of your head. Do you always forward your office number to your mobile phone? Have you permanently call forwarded to mobile? Do you sometimes call forward, and that might be in the evenings or weekends or on holidays, all right? Or do you just never call forward your office number to your mobile? They're two completely separate numbers. So put those answers in, and we're going to come back to them after our first demonstration. So our first demonstration is around what we're calling a large national concrete supplier. Now, this is a live demo. Don't get me wrong here. There's a lot of live demonstration going on here. Tim will be driving a lot of this. It's actually an example of a real customer that we have delivered Liberate to. In fact, it's an amalgamation of a couple of customers. But think about this. You've got a large concrete supplier. They've got a depot. In that depot, you've got trucks. You've got a big hopper full of concrete. You've got weigh bridges. You've got people running around. So they want people to be mobile. They don't want to be tied to the desk phones which are in the office block. But they also want to reduce costs in the branch. They don't want to have to maintain a phone system, a PBX, especially if people aren't going to be using it a lot of the time and afford it to mobile. And they want to centralize the management. How do I pull everything back centrally to manage it? So the two important things here are, how do I protect brand identity? When I call a builder to talk to him about his concrete order, he needs to know it's me, the concrete company, calling, because there's a danger he might miss my call and talk to the next concrete company. Secondly, how do I record that call to make sure that the amount of concrete I ordered is consistent with what the customer said in case there's a dispute? What you're going to see now is 3 phones appear on the screen. So what we're simulating is that concrete depot. You've got the 2 outside phones there belong to the concrete company. The middle phone is the builder, affectionately known as Bob. So away to Brad and Tim to talk us through a demonstration.
Thanks, Paul. So what we're going to show is how we can use Liberate to solve a lot of those challenges that the customers had in that previous slide. So as Paul mentioned, our 2 outside phones are the 2 people working in the branch. On the left there, we have Tim. And in the middle, we've got Bob, who's the builder. And he's the customer and the center of everything we do, hence why he's in the middle. All right, so Tim in the branch on the left there is going to make a call to Bob the builder, because Bob's left him a message around ordering some concrete. So Tim's just going to dive into the normal native dialer on his phone and give Bob a call. And you'll see on the middle phone, Bob's phone, that we see the incoming caller ID is the 086217 number. Now, even though Tim's made that call off his mobile in the branch, it's sending out the main advertised number of the branch. So Bob's a bit busy whacking a few nails in, so he's actually missed that call. And so Bob's going to go and dive into his missed call list there, find the 08 number, which is the main advertised number of the branch, which he knows and recognises, and he's going to return that call. Now, when he does return that call, our 2 branch phones, so the left and the right, are actually going to simultaneously ring. So that's what you can see now as the call's coming inbound, and it's showing the name Concrete Sales. Now, that's the core platform sending that out as part of the caller ID. And that's actually the name of the hunt group that is the main advertised number. So that way the 2 guys in the branch know that that is a call coming in from the main advertised number. It's not just somebody calling them direct. So Tim's answered the call on the left there, and he's now in a conversation with Bob around what he wants today. Now, Paul mentioned in the previous slide there that ability to record a call is important for these guys. There's often a little bit of argy-bargy around who said what in regards to quantities and information like that. So Tim's actually going to turn on network call recording and record the element of the call where they're discussing the quantity of concrete that Bob wants supplied. So you'll hear that little announcement come over as he turns that on.
Call is being recorded.
So that's played out once again from the core of the network. So all parties are aware that the call's being recorded. Once that's that element of the conversation has finished, Tim can actually complete the recording, and it's going to play out a little greeting for that as well. That way we know we're not being recorded anymore, and away we go. So that recording's then available for Tim to obviously retrieve from the cloud and resolve any customer disputes that may occur down the track in regards to what was ordered versus what was delivered. So really important for them to be able to resolve that and move forward with customers. So what we've shown there today is how you can essentially use Liberate to emulate all the key capabilities of a PBX on site and give that mobility to the staff on site and add on important features like our network call recording to ensure that all those business processes are maintained. Thanks, Paul. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Brad and Tim. And I really think that was a really concrete example of a great application of Liberate. So moving on to our poll, and let's have a look at our poll. So we asked you, how often do you forward your office phone number to your mobile phone? And if you remember, the answer was A, always, B, sometimes, or C, never. Hopefully we can bring up the survey. Our survey says, there we go. Wow. Okay, this is the This is the biggest result so far in the A camp. So remember, I said to, we can see 20% of our users have permanently call forwarded to mobile. In this survey, we have 44%. So on this call, 44% of you absolutely need to be using Liberate, because if you're using your mobile all the time, this is what's going to give you back that UC functionality on top of your mobile. 44% of you said that you sometimes do. 11% said never. So the vast majority of people are transferring calls to their mobile, forwarding calls to their mobile, therefore probably making a lot of calls to their mobile, from the mobile, sorry. So perfect application for Liberate. Right, our second demonstration. This time we're looking at doctors on call. Now, this is again as an amalgamation of some real examples, some real customer examples that we've delivered, and we've done quite a few of these over the COVID period. We have done a lot of doctors on Liberate, nurses, COVID contact tracers, you name it, we have done an awful lot. So this one is about a problem where an organization had an on-call mobile phone that was actually shared amongst doctors. They actually had a pool of phones that you had to go pick up and have in addition to your own mobile. So the two problems there were, obviously you had to go pick it up. So that was actually, during COVID, not the ideal thing to do to go to the office, but also, it has to be disinfected. So not a great idea either. So the idea here was, well, how do we do this differently so we can actually overflow to different on-call doctors, right? So we don't, not just the ones who have to go pick it up, but what about people who are free in other locations? And also, if a doctor does take a call, how do they transfer it? If they're on a call with a patient and actually they think that patient just needs to be, with a nurse, how do they transfer that call to the nurse so that they can actually get on with the next seriously ill patient? What you're going to see appear are two phones on the screen. On the left-hand side, you are going to see a doctor's phone, and on the right-hand side, you're going to see a nurse's phone. And so the demo will show you how the two are going to interact.
Thanks, Paul. This demo is going to show how Liberate can address a number of those key issues that our customers had. So Dr. Tim's arrived finally. He's on the left, and we've got our on-call nurse on the right. So Dr. Tim's walking into the hospital, and he's coming on shift. So he needs to be able to start receiving the on-call doctor calls. So rather than have to go and run around and find where he's taking over the mobile from the previous person, he's able to jump into the Liberate app that's on his mobile there. And once he's in there, he's actually going to be able to go in there and join the call queue. So up the top right there, we've got a little call queue button, and we can see there's a doctor on call queue. Tim's just going to toggle to the right on that. That joins him to the queue, which then means he's going to start receiving calls once he makes himself available. So prior to that, he's obviously not going to receive any calls to the queue. So if he's not at work, he's not going to be bothered. So now he's actually on the call, made himself available for the queue. So we're going to push a call in to Dr. Tim. And once again, we can see that the network is pushing out the caller ID that includes the name of the queue. So that way Tim's able to identify that that has actually come through from the queue, and he might answer that call in a slightly different way. What he can also do, though, is the platform also pushes out a little message as you actually answer the call. So it plays out a little greeting to let you know where the calls come from, and you can put whatever greeting you like on there. So as Tim answers the call, we'll just play out that little greeting.
From on-call Dr. Q.
So that way, it doesn't matter whether he's looked at the phone or just picked it up and answered it. He can understand where the call's coming from before he actually starts talking, and then can answer that in a possibly different, more professional manner. So now he's on the call. When he's talking to the patient on the end of the phone, then Tim realises that, look, the on-call nurse can probably handle this one, and he wants to be able to transfer the call. Now, on a normal mobile phone, as Paul mentioned, you can't actually transfer a call. So that call would be stuck on your mobile device. You can do a conference call, but you can't transfer. So what we're going to do is use some of the power of the Liberate platform and jump back into the Liberate app to allow us to use the app to signal the platform to tell it what we want to do. So we're still on a normal, just mobile network voice call, but on the Liberate app now, you can see it's popped up with a little call control window that gives me a couple of controls that I can use, similar to what I use, on my desk phone on the desk. So I've got an add call button, and I've got transfer. Now, in this case, I'm going to add a call because I want to basically ring the on-call nurse and let them know what's going on with the patient prior to actually doing the transfer. So a warm transfer. So Tim's looking up the nurse's number in the directory, and he's going to make that call through. When he makes that call, it will actually put the original caller on hold. So as they get put on hold, they're then played out the network-based music on hold, rather than just getting the beep beep that you get on the normal mobile network. So that's whatever music on hold you've uploaded to the platform. So Tim's now having a conversation with the on-call nurse, letting them know what the situation with the patient that he's got on the phone. He can then jump back into the app, and the app's now, you can see that there's a transfer button. So Tim can then press the transfer button. That's going to pop up an option down the bottom there and allow him to transfer the call through to the on-call nurse. So once he's actually done that, we'll see that Tim actually drops off the call, and the call's then just between the on-call nurse and the original patient, and Dr. Tim is then available to take another call. So what we've shown there is how you can use the power of Liberate to take what have been traditionally, I guess, office-based PBX functionality and deliver that into a pure mobile environment. And we just want to point out that even though we're delivering this all onto mobiles, you've still got access to all the normal business analytics that you would want to gather about these users that you would normally have in the office. So I can, still understand how many calls they've had, how many missed calls, what were my peak times. So therefore I can feed that data into my business processes around how many people do I need on a particular shift, and at what time are my peak times that I need to be covering those calls. So that's all for me. Paul, back to you.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Tim. I have to say, Tim triaged those mobiles really, really well, because it is actually a really hard job to do to make that happen in real time. So thank you very much, because I think it'll work perfectly. So as we've been talking about mobiles a lot and everyone transitioning to mobile, it begs the question, are you actually thinking about removing physical desk phones from your offices? Are you going to take them off of desks? So quick poll again, so bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So A, if you've already done it, now there's a few people from Telstra on this call, so I'm assuming a lot of people in Telstra are going to say yes. Not all Telstra offices have done that, but a lot have. Yes, we're planning on removing all because we think that's the way to go forward. Yes, we're planning on removing some because we'll end up with a hybrid. There are some people who don't need a phone, but others are always going to need a phone. It could be a wall-mounted phone or whatever. And D, yep, we're not removing any. All right. So while you think about that, I'm just going to say, as we've done our 15 minutes, we'll come to the answers in the Q&A. But for those of you who need to leave right now, just to wrap up in terms of the presentation, to say that was really a snapshot of what Liberate can do. A little bit more information. If you want to go to liberate.telstra.com, you'll find a load more information. If you want to book a session with an expert, you can book one. Richard Barnard is online now. Brad Kelly is also one of those experts you can book. Or if you talk to a Telstra account executive, you can chat to one of us post Vantage. But we'll get into the Q&A, and then we'll look at the poll results. So and please don't forget, if you want to keep asking questions in the box on the left-hand side, but I'm going to ask the first one I have here, which says, if I have Liberate, can I still have a normal handset or soft client as well? So Tim, what's the answer to that one?
Thanks, Paul. Yes, most definitely. You can have a physical desk phone, a mobile, and a soft phone in the environment of Liberate. So essentially that's what I run today, Paul. I run a soft client as well as my physical mobile, and I'm able to move my calls or shift my calls between those two devices and also my physical device that I have at home too these days. So most definitely, yes, we can have a physical desk phone included in the Liberate world.
Perfect. Yes, and I agree with you. I also have still have a physical device at home. Again, it makes a lot of sense at home, right? On a home office, you can still have a physical device. In fact, you can have a bigger one. Okay, second question. Is this FMC, which actually stands for Fixed Mobile Convergence? I'll get Stephen to answer that one if he's still on the call.
I am here. Yes, it is fixed mobile convergence, Paul. And so as you've pointed out on this call, the fixed number and the mobile number on a service and using the mobile voice network. So the benefit of that network for coverage and reliability. So yes, it is.
It is. Yep, absolutely is a definition of FMC. I apologize. Brad's reminding me by shoving the survey results on the screen that I forgot to give us the survey results. So if you're looking at those of you looking to remove desk phones from your offices, Actually, quite a lot of people in this category C planning on removing some, but will probably end up going forward with a hybrid type model, which again, we will see a lot. I think particularly in branch networks, retail, etc., you are still going to see proliferation of handsets. Maybe in big corporate offices where it's a head office, you may not have so many, but that does tie in a lot with what we see. Is this using IP calling? I think that's kind of, actually, do you want to touch on that one, Stephen? It's sort of close to what you're just talking about.
Yeah, so app calling off your mobile phone is using a IP call or voice over IP. But Liberate is actually, as I mentioned before, utilising the cellular or mobile network. So it is a native call, and again, leveraging the strength and reliability and breadth of the Telstra mobile network.
And it's absolutely true. In fact, that anecdotally, that doctor one we showed, they have people in remote areas, so it still works when you've got 1 bar of mobile phone signal, whereas a VoIP app is unlikely to work. You're not going to have enough data capacity to do that. So that's one of the great examples of it. I think I know who sent this other question, but will this work with my cellular-enabled smartwatch, e.g. my Apple Watch? So who wants to answer that one?
I'll answer that one, Paul. At this stage, no, but we're about to do a network enhancement due mid-November that will enable all the various smart devices from Samsung and Apple. So you'll be able to go out and buy your new phone, Paul.
New watch, mate, new watch. Yes, I'm going to get the one with the little red circle on it. Yes, and I've been waiting to do that for a while now. So I do want Liberate, and I want that watch working on our cellular network. The feature is called One Number for those who want it to. Okay, is the call native to the mobile network? Is it a VoIP call? I think you've answered that one. Do you have to use the Liberate app to make a call? Let's go to Stephen.
You can, and you don't have to. So again, this is a native call. You can use an app if you choose to, but the benefit of the Liberate solution, as I've mentioned, is that it's native using your phone icon. Native.
Okay, can I use any mobile device with Liberate? Let's go down to Tim.
So yes, today you have to use a mobile phone that has the ability to download the Liberate application for the provisioning process. So as this is end user provisioning, the end user will get an SMS, download the application and provision themselves via the app. In the very close future, middle of November, we'll have the ability to do auto provisioning. So instead of the end user provisioning, the organisation can send a request to the user and it will auto provision itself. So that meaning that we can essentially use any mobile device that's on the Telstra mobile network and using a Telstra Enterprise mobile plan as well.
Perfect. Yep. Any Telstra, and basically it needs to be on it has to be talking to a Telstra tower, as it's not going to work. That obviously doesn't work overseas either, and it has to be an enterprise plan at the moment or a corporate plan. Can users swap their mobile phones, e.g., upgrade their device, or will Liberate stop working for them and require support to fix it? Great question, Brad, because I reckon you can talk about eSIM on this one. We don't have to. So can you swap your mobile phone? So you go, say you're buying an Apple iPhone 12 and you've got an iPhone 11 at the moment. If you take your SIM card out of one and put it in the other, will Liberate still work?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a network-based feature. So it's actually assigned, if you like, to the SIM card, not the actual mobile device. So when you put the mobile into the new device, Liberate will continue to work. All you just need to do is go and download and sign back into the app if you want to make changes to your Liberate configuration.
And as I hinted there, there's a little question on just about, you might as well talk about eSIM while you're there, because I know you've done it. So does it work on eSIM?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It certainly does work on eSIMs. Sorry, missed that bit of your question, but I have an eSIM on my phone and I have a normal SIM, and I actually have Liberate on both. So yes, absolutely works on an eSIM.
Greedy. Okay. All right. I think I'm out of questions. So what I would say is if you do want more information, as I said, liberate.telstra.com is where you'll find user guides and some more collateral around it. You can book a talk to the expert session. Richard Barnard's there now. Brad Kelly from this call will also be joining Richard, so you can actually have a one-to-one session during Vantage with those guys. Or as I said, reach out to your account manager and let's have a follow-on discussion post Vantage. You can get hold of one of us to have a further chat. So I hope you got a lot out of that. All right. Thank you very much. Goodbye.